Takata is a brain-dead idiot loser who couldn't get a girl's number if she worked at tech support.
Damn!
However, everything changes when he befriends the gloomy goth girl from his class and becomes the ultimate rizzler. It starts with Takata walking to his new school and noticing some people talking shit about Nishimura's appearance. When he hears some guys calling her the Grim Reaper and trying to avoid her like she's cursed, he gets super excited and follows her. Later in class, he notices some students joking about a book being cursed because the Grim Reaper touched it. When Nishimura feeds the fish, some girls start poking fun at her by saying she is cursing the goldfish. Takata is new to this school and doesn't know the whole story, but he grew up watching Billy and Mandy, so the nickname Grim Reaper sounds awesome to him. Later, as Nishimura is watering the plants, Takata runs up to her and excitedly asks why everyone calls her the Grim Reaper. Nishimura isn't sure but believes it is because of her glaring eyes, which remind people of a dead fish. As Takata reflects on the awesomeness of her nickname, some classmates notice him talking to her and start acting like he's said the N-word. Nishimura notices this and asks him to keep his distance from her, explaining that he will catch the curse that spreads by being near her. Instead of fearing her, Takata thinks she's a superhero for having such a deadly power so early in her life. When he wishes he could be like her, Nishimura reminds him of the daily bullying she endures, but his poo-poo brain thinks it's a fair trade for such a dreadful power. He then asks Nishimura to touch his hand, but she hesitates because she knows he'll be treated worse than vegetarians and flat earthers if she does so. However, Takata does not care and expresses his wish to be the closest to Nishimura, which makes her flustered. Later, he asks Nishimura if she would like to walk home with him, but the twitch thoughts in his class notice him talking to her and joke that he'll get cursed now. Nishimura gets disheartened and decides to walk home alone, but Takata insists, saying he knows no one else. Nishimura reminds him of the consequences of people assuming they are friends, but Takata thinks it's super cool to befriend a Grim Reaper. Nishimura agrees to go with him, but they are stopped by Kitagawa and his bitches who invite him to their scorpion group. When Takata invites Nishimura as well, they start laughing because no one with a functioning brain would befriend her. Nishimura once again falls into despair and asks Takata to go with Kitagawa because she's already used to doing stuff alone. Takata says he won't go with them because they are just ordinary humans, compared to Nishimura, who is the Grim Reaper. However, Nishimura goes all red and asks him if his dumb ever considered that she might actually just be a normal girl with deadly eyes. Takata replies he's fine with her being a human and that her eyes are really cool. After he comforts Nishimura, he asks Kitagawa to skedaddle, and despite already looking like a moron, Kitagawa ends up looking even stupider, which makes Nishimura laugh. As they walk home, Takata tells Nishimura she's super cool and they should walk home together every day. She agrees but does not remember the part where she consented to him holding her hands. Takata says he wants to develop her curse, and touching her is the fastest way to do it. He says he can stop if she doesn't like it, but Nishimura hesitantly says she is okay with it, since he's her only shot at a childhood love story. Later, Nishimura's dad asks how things are at school, and she chooses to lie like she has been for years. The next day, Takata notices students pretending to cast magical barriers, so he asks Nishimura if everyone in their class possesses some kind of magical powers. Nishimura says it's a game they play to protect themselves from her curse, but Takata gets all excited thinking an advanced spell, such as a barrier, is a mere game to her. He mentions how no one in his previous school could cast barriers, which makes Nishimura realize bullying wasn't a thing back there. Takata reveals there were a total of 30 students in the whole school, so he managed to befriend everyone with his Rizzler aura. Nishimura suggests he learns how to cast the barrier and use it around her to protect himself. However, Takata says barriers are for enemies and there is no reason to use them for her since she is his friend. Nishimura recalls lying to her father about school every day, but now she can finally stop because she has made a real friend. Later, Takata beats Hino's record in the sprint race, which makes Nishimura think one really shouldn't judge the book by its cover and a man by his hideous face. Just then, she notices Kasahara crushing over Takata, who walks off as soon as she sees Nishimura. As the class plays dodgeball, Takata tries to shield Nishimura like a Discord mod protecting his kitten, only to get hit in the face. Takata is taken to the infirmary, and Kasahara spreads the rumor that Nishimura's curse sent him there. Nishimura notices a handout on his desk and sums up the courage to give it to him in the infirmary, only to be surprised by Hino. He simply walks in and gives Takata custard for lunch, making her realize the two of them have already become best friends. Seeing them have fun, she decides not to be a killjoy and waits by the corridor to give him the handout. As she reflects on her lonely life, Takeda comes up and starts throwing a tantrum over her noting visiting him in the infirmary. He learned from Hino that she was waiting by the door, so he stayed in all this time hoping she would come in soon. Nishimura gets all red and reveals she came to give him the handout. But Takeda doesn't care about that and shows her his third eye. His game is so weak, he tries to impress her by mentioning the water cooler at the office, suggesting they hang out by it. Nishimura is hesitant because she believes people might spread some rumors if they are alone, but Takeda says he doesn't care and forces her in. Inside, Takeda says he was sad because he couldn't talk to her all day, but now he's thrilled because they can spend time together. At that moment, Nishimura realized that she did not care about people bullying her because she loved spending time with Takeda. The next day in school, Takeda asks her why no one uses the broom during cleaning time, and Nishimura reveals it's because she uses it. She asks him to put it down before people start saying weird things about him, but Takeda sees it as the Dark Dancer, a super powerful weapon that curses anyone who touches it. He is jealous Nishimura has the power to wield this weapon and asks her for more cursed objects. She shows him a volleyball, which he dubs the Wicked Diabolus Bullet, and the ruler is considered as Serpent the Magic Sword. Assuming she has enough cursed items to revive Sukuna, Takeda cluelessly starts enjoying himself. He says the school would be a total bum without her and urges her to always be here. Later, Takeda and Nishimura are on lunch duty together when Kitagawa and his friends show up to mock her. They say the Grim Reaper always curses the curry, which makes it taste worse than the UK food, implying that they won't be having any. Takeda says he will eat their share, stating he has to eat a lot of cursed food so he can become a dark eater. However, Kitagawa gets frustrated and refuses to share his curry with them, which leaves Takeda devastated. After he leaves, Nishimura thanks Takeda because she thinks he's standing up for her, unaware that he's a clueless moron who has no idea she's facing bullying. In class, a guy proposes they play rock, paper, scissors for the last pack of milk, and Takeda runs in despite Nishimura telling him not to. When he returns as a loser, she offers him her share of the milk, which makes him happy. Later, he asks Nishimura if she wants to make embarrassing TikToks together, revealing he heard some people say she doesn't show up in cameras because she's a ghost. After taking a picture, Takeda sees no ghost, but Nishimura says she's standing right next to him, which makes him think Nishimura has the power to see ghosts.
Are you out of your mind?
Just then, Hino shows up and decides to help them capture a ghost on camera. Takeda explains that Hino is really obsessed with the paranormal and tank tops, so he can really help. He asks Tadaka to pose with Nishimura and look as gloomy as he can, but Takeda can't help but stop smiling. He says he can never stop smiling when he's around Nishimura, which makes her go through all 50 shades of red at once. Later, Takeda brings Nishimura home, and his sister can't believe his ugly brother pulled a gothic baddie from school. She introduces herself as Yukiko and asks Nishimura to take care of her brother, but Nishimura reveals they're just friends. When she points out that Takeda is holding Nishimura's hand, he says it's because she is cursed, which makes Yukiko upset. She forces him to make up with Nishimura, which makes her blush. Later, as Nishimura and Takeda play games together, Yukiko starts planning their wedding in their head. The next day, the teacher asks the students to write a poem, and Takeda decides to write one about Nishimura. He wants to theme it around the Grim Reaper, but Nishimura asks him to change the setting to a more lighthearted tone, because she really loves Taiyu, which is the Japanese word for sunshine. However, she starts blushing when she notices that Takeda's last name is also Taiyu, and explains what she really meant. Later, Hino casually tells Nishimura that Takeda caught a cold because he doesn't keep his shoulders warm, all while flexing in a tank top like the walking contradiction. He suggests they visit him, but Nishimura doesn't like the idea of barging in without prior notice. However, Hino urges her to go, and the two visit the man who is happy to see them, just as Hino predicted. The next day, Takeda sees Nishimura pull out a love letter from her locker and gets all excited, but Nishimura knows it's just another prank. She reveals she gets many of these from the kids who want to punish her for the curse, and Takeda cluelessly says he will write her a love letter too to learn more about it. He says he will write a million good things about her in it, starting from her super cool eyes and her willingness to tolerate his dumb Takeda then hits a dilemma because he has too many good things to say about her that cannot fit in one letter, so he decides to use the forbidden technique of using his voice. During lunch, he thinks of all the good things about her and showers her with compliments later. The next day, Nishimura runs into Yukiko and explains she was out to buy a book. Yukiko suddenly invites her over for some girl-on-girl action because Takada is out for his lessons. Yukiko then makes her dress up and takes hundreds of her pictures because she thinks Nishimura is adorable. Nishimura doesn't want to wear a cute dress to school and explains how people call her the Grim Reaper, but Yukiko thinks that is a cool nickname. She advises her not to worry about what other people think and to do what she wants, urging her to rely on Takada if anyone annoys her. She doesn't want to trouble him too, but Yukiko reveals he never shuts up about her even at home. When she says Takada looks the happiest talking about her, Nishimura gets shy, so Yukiko takes another picture of her for the memories. The next day, Takeda learns about another one of Nishimura's curses, called the Bad Luck Aura. Kitagawa warns him that he will get cursed if he keeps hanging out with the Grim Reaper, and urges him to hang out with them instead, but Takada has a no losers allowed policy, and it even applies to himself. He believes Nishimura is always making her happy, which is ruining the balance of his bad luck. That night, he calls her residence and thanks her for making him happy, promising to do the same for her from tomorrow. The next day, Nishimura shows up in a cute white dress, which is quite the opposite of her usual gothic persona. Takada starts running circles around her and compliments her for looking so slick, only to notice that girls in her class are making fun of her. They say she will always be the Grim Reaper even if she dresses up nicely, but Takada thinks it means she is both Beauty and the Beast. He says he is glad the others feel the same way because when he saw her all he could think was she is really cute, which makes her flustered. The next day, Takeda runs into Nishimura searching for her lost dignity in the bushes. Instead, she finds an abandoned cat inside a box and wants to adopt it for herself. Takeda starts playing with the cat and comments that her black fur is a perfect match for Nishimura. However, Nishimura gets worried that people will think this cat is evil because it hangs out with the Grim Reaper. Takeda comforts her by revealing how happy he has been ever since he befriended her, implying that the cat will have a great life if it stays with her. He thinks the cat is super cute, just like Nishimura, which puts a big smile on her face. The next day, Nishimura shows him some pictures she took of her cat, whom she has named Kuro. The pick-me group in the class starts poking fun at her by saying pets take after their owners. However, Takeda takes it as them saying Kuro is just as cute as Nishimura and seconds them much to their frustration. They want Kasahara to back them up, but she for real thinks Kuro is really cute and asks Nishimura to show him more pictures of her. She reveals she really loves cats but can't have one since her apartment has a no-pets policy. During class, the professor asks the students to write their plans for the summer break, and the whole class excitedly gets at it. Meanwhile, Nishimura calmly writes about visiting family graves in Oban and going shopping with her dad. Takeda notices that she's finished and asks her to show what she wrote. However, when Nishimura says it's private, the man backs off and apologizes. Later, as Nishimura watches the rain from her class window, she realizes summer break is her favorite season because it means she gets a break from the parade of IQ deficiencies that populate her school. As she packs up to head home, she runs into Tadaka in the hallway, who is happy because they can walk home together now. He reveals the professor was fussing at him for what he wrote in the paper, so he has to write a new one for tomorrow. In the locker room, Nishimura apologizes to Takada for not showing him her paper, explaining that she was embarrassed because she did not have many plans for the summer vacation. However, Takada thinks it's perfect because it means they can make plans together for the summer break. He invites her over to do some exploring, a visit to the mountains, fireworks and whatnot, and puts them on Nishimura's paper after getting her permission. When his pencil breaks and the rain gets heavier, Nishimura suggests they head to the library. However, she's all worried about getting caught in the library after hours, but Takada grabs her hand and pulls her along like a dumbass who thinks hiding under the desk is a foolproof plan. Once there, they find the place all to themselves, which excites Takada, so he starts writing all the stupid stuff he wants to do with Nishimura during the summer break. After some time, they both fill their papers with similar stuff and Nishimura is happy because she can finally have fun. When their teacher shows up in the library, they hide under the desk to avoid him. However, the teacher spots their papers on the desk, which leads to them getting caught. Since it has stopped raining, the man sends them off to their homes and Nishimura apologizes to Takada, since it was her idea to begin with. Takada, on the other hand, is unfazed and looking forward to having all these experiences with her. At night, Nishimura is staring at her paper like it has the answers to life. But the moment Takeda crosses her mind, her face turns red like a tomato. Later in school, the principal gives the students best wishes, which bores the students to death. Nishimura then heads to a store to buy a new swimsuit, and when her father asks why she isn't using the one in school, she recalls Takata telling her it would be lame since they are in 5th grade now. Nishimura doesn't ask for much from his father, so he asks her to pick anyone she likes from the store. The next day, a lot of kids are hanging out in the pool, and Nishimura sneaks in to see that no one is wearing her school swimsuit after all. She is glad she bought a new one because it will help her blend in with the rest of the wannabe clowns in her class. Just then, Takata shows up behind her and Nishimura hesitantly shows him her cute new outfit. After taking a long look at her, Takata doesn't give any comments and takes her to the pool. Nishimura thinks she messed up and all the kids will make fun of her now, but Kitagawa spots her from a distance and comments that the Grim Reaper is wearing a really cute swimsuit. He is trying to be condescending towards her, but Takata thinks he's complimenting her for looking so fine. This makes Nishimura realize Takata actually likes how it looks, which makes her blush. Kitagawa gets frustrated and explains he was just teasing her and that he doesn't actually like this swimsuit. Takata makes it seem like he likes girls in school swimsuits, which makes him lose all his aura in front of the Pick Me squad. Kitagawa copes by saying he doesn't care what swimsuit Nishimura wears, and Takata says it's because she looks cute in everything she wears. After he leaves, Hino shows up with drinks, and Nishimura is left wondering if Takata thinks she's cute or not. Just then, Takata whispers in her ear that she looks really fine today, which solves her dilemma. After Hino gives them the drinks, Takata asks why he's wearing the school swimsuit, and Hino reveals it's purely out of irony. Later, the three of them enjoy a good time in the pool, and Nishimura is glad she picked this swimsuit out of all the ones she looked through. As they walk home, Takata is overjoyed to have spent quality time with Nishimura and compliments her smile. This reminds her of all the times people made fun of her smile, which made her unsure about it. However, Takata thinks she looks super cute when she smiles and assumes she's worried about ruining her stoic persona by showing her smile off. Bro straight up grabs her hands and tells her he will always like her no matter what, which makes her look like a red traffic light. Sometime later, Nishimura is heading to her grandma's with her father, but Kuro is being a pain in the ass for no reason. She had asked Takata and Hino to take care of her until she returned, but they could not help her. Takata said he wouldn't be home because he was visiting his friends from the old school, and Hino couldn't take her because his place had a no-pet policy. Nishimura had no choice but to bring her along, so her father advises her to take good care of Kuro or grandma would be troubled. After a long drive, the two finally meet the grandma and Nishimura is super excited to see her after so long. She asks her about school, and Nishimura happily tells her about a new friend she made in 5th grade. As she wonders what her friend is doing, Takata's in a forest with friends, and his idea of catching game is playing Pokemon Go, because he can never catch a real bitch. After his friend catches a super rare Pokemon, he gets all happy but wonders what Nishimura is doing right now. Back at Grandma's, Nishimura's father prepares a more open cage for Kuro so she can have more breathing space. After a while, Kuro falls asleep and Nishimura just sits there like a psychopath looking at the walls. She then heads to the kitchen to help Grandma with her watermelons, but she tells her she has everything under control. She then hears her father talking about one of her cousins who won't be able to make it here, because she prefers hanging out with her school friends. Nishimura then retreats to her room and plays with Kuro while wondering about what Takata is up to. However, she feels some regret because she is here to see Grandma, but can't stop thinking about that moron. Just then, Grandma shows up with her watermelons and Nishimura gets excited because she has never seen bigger ones before.
Yeah, boy.
As she bites on those juicy melons, Grandma reveals her tomatoes and cucumbers have ripped as well and invites her to pick them later. Grandma also tells her not to feel guilty about feeling alone, because she knows Nishimura has friends back home. Nishimura then bores her to death with the story of how she and Takata became friends, making her happy knowing her granddaughter is doing well in life. Just then, they notice that Kuro has escaped her cage and Nishimura starts panicking, while her grandma comforts her. After looking for a while, Nishimura finally gives up but is surprised when Takata shows up holding Kuro. He reveals he was playing nearby with his friends when he heard people shouting Kuro's name, so he found her and brought her here. Turns out that Takata is already friends with Grandma, because he used to live nearby until he moved to the city. Connecting all the dots, Nishimura realizes this is not just coincidence, but rather fate, which makes her go red. Just then, Nishimura's father arrives and asks Grandma who this funny-looking boy is, suspecting that he's trying to rizz up his daughter. She reveals he's Nishimura's friend from school and asks him to show Nishimura around since he knows the area well. The two excitedly run off and Takata decides to take her to a mountain through a super secret tunnel. The next day, Nishimura is out with her father, who learns Takata is the same boy who once called her at home. Nishimura also mentions Yukiko, Takata's older sister who gave her all her cute clothes. Just then, they run into Takata, who starts talking to Nishimura about the scary show that aired last night. Her father leaves the two and returns home, and Grandma tells the man not to worry about it's best if Nishimura makes some good memories of this place. Meanwhile, Nishimura heads to her family graveyard, and Takata happily tags along thinking he can find the secret to her Grim Reaper powers there. On the way, he shows her a spot where fireflies gather at night, and they end up in the graveyard where Nishimura places flowers on the grave. As Takata lights up the incense, he tries to blow the fire out, but Nishimura tells him to do it by waving his hand. After that, the two pay their respects, and Takata is impressed because Nishimura knows the ins and outs of this so-called ritual. Nishimura reveals she didn't follow the full procedure and used jasmine tea instead of water because her mother loved it. This makes Takeda realize they're standing over Nishimura's mother's grave. Takeda is shocked to hear about it, but Nishimura reveals she was a child when it happened, so she doesn't remember anything. As they walk back home, Takeda asks what her mother was like, but Nishimura reveals she died right after she was born. She hasn't experienced her firsthand, but she's heard a lot of stories about her mother from her dad and grandma. She then thanks Takeda for joining him because she was able to introduce her friend to her mother for the very first time. Takeda uses his brain for the first time and realizes people call Nishimura a Grim Reaper to blame her for her mother's death. But all this time he's been yapping non-stop about it. He freezes in one spot and starts crying uncontrollably, and even when she spends hours comforting her, the man does not stop crying. At the night falls, Nishimura holds his hand and walks him back home, and they pass by the firefly spot he showed her earlier. Nishimura purposely takes the longer path home so she can be there for Takata, who hasn't spoken a word since the realization hit him. A few days later, Nishimura is in her bed wondering why she hasn't seen Takata in so many days and wonders if he dissolved into thin air after that heavy meltdown. She still has a lot of things planned with Takata and is waiting for him to stop being a drama queen. The next day, she sums up the courage to visit Takata's house, but then changes her mind. However, Takata spots her and the two awkwardly come face to face for the first time in a while. Takata decides to skedaddle, saying he has to meet Hino, but Nishimura grabs his hand and begs him to talk with her. They sit awkwardly in front of a shrine until Takata apologizes to her for calling her the Grim Reaper. It explains how he had no idea about her mother, and calling her by that name made it feel like he was blaming her for her mother's death. Nishimura finally understands why Takata cried that day, but she knows her classmates call her the Grim Reaper because of her appearance and not because she replaced her mother. As she remembers all the times Takata's stupidity made her laugh, she realizes he's too dumb to hurt anyone on purpose. She is thankful to have a friend who cares about her and lets her know that she was not hurt at all by the nickname. In fact, even though she never experienced what it's like to have a mother, her father made it up for it, so she doesn't even feel bad about it. She says if her mom were here, she would be happy that her daughter made a friend who gave her such a cool nickname. She gently grabs Takata's hand and asks him to treat her exactly how he treated her from the very start. She also asks him to call her by her nickname because she now finds it really cool, and he's the one who makes her see it that way. When Takata goes back to being himself, Nishimura realizes she's been holding his hands all this time and gets nervous. However, Takata asks her to keep holding them because he likes it, and it's the best way to borrow her Grim Reaper powers. Later, Nishimura reminds him that he still has to meet Hino, which completely slipped their minds. Just then, Hino shows up in a tank top and cotton candy, and tells them there is a festival going on around the corner. Nishimura and Takata have put up a festival in their summer break plans, so they decide to check it out. At night, the three of them explore all kinds of stalls and play different games, and Takata even wins a skull mask for her. He thanks her for coming along because everything is so much better with her around, and Nishimura secretly feels the same way about him. Later, Hino brings a stack of fireworks and Takata suggests having a showdown with them. The next day, Takata starts fretting over losing his orichalcum ring, which he brought as a present for Nishimura. Just then, Kasahara and her pick-me bitches show up, and turns out they have the ring he is looking for. He thanks them for finding it, but Kasahara plays by the finder's keeper's rule. He tells them it's a present for Nishimura, but Kasahara gets jealous and says it looks better on her. Takata, in his usual stupidity, thinks a toy ring isn't good enough for the Grim Reaper and goes full romantic idiot with a real one. That night, Nishimura glares at the ring and starts blushing when she realizes Takata cannot tell apart a toy from an engagement ring. The next day, he meets her with a serious face and asks for her help in an experiment. He wants to tickle her, but Nishimura says no because it's embarrassing for her. She asks why he wants to tickle her in the first place, and Takata reveals it's because he wants to see her laugh. When Nishimura tells him she can laugh without being tickled, Takata decides to act like a clown, and he's already got the face for it. He thinks it will help him get the curse, but curse or not, he really wants to see her smile. The man throws out pickup lines without even trying, and poor Nishimura's brain keeps frying because of his sheer ignorance. She covers her face to hide her smile, and Takata keeps begging her to let him see it. Later, he tells her about a photo contest with a music player as a prize, so he wants to take Nishimura's pictures for a contest. Nishimura thinks taking her pictures won't win it, so she helps him look for something more aesthetic to capture. However, he still keeps putting her in the frame and starts yapping about how her cute face overpowers everything in the background. They decide to seek Hino's help, and the three of them go around the city taking pictures of everything they can find. As they are running through sunflower fields, Nishimura can't keep up with their pace, so Takata stops for her and grabs her hand so they can run together. As they stop for drinks, Takata thanks Nishimura for giving him a lot of awesome memories this summer. Nishimura goes all red again because she feels the same way about him. Meanwhile, Takata's submission gets him second place, and even though he didn't get the prize, he definitely got that Ohio Rizzler aura. The next day, Takata is bored in his house but gets all happy thinking about Nishimura. When Yukiko notices the big smile on her face, she teases him by saying he must be thinking about Nishimura. She metaphorically says that Nishimura is an angel, and Takata bursts with joy because he now believes Nishimura has angelic powers too. Later, he meets up with Nishimura and tells her that she is an angel, making her brain fry once again. A few days later, Nishimura is heading to school when Takata spots her and gets excited over her pigtail. She reveals it was Yukiko's idea, and Takata says he wants to have matching hairstyles with her. Just then, Kitagawa and his crew show up and make fun of Nishimura's hairstyle. He says a pigtail is a bad match for the Grim Reaper, and Takata, in his usual optimism, thinks she is awesome because she still looks good in it. Later, as the students arrange their seats, Takata is excited to get his seat next to Nishimura. To celebrate the new semester, Takata pulls out a bunch of stickers and places one on Nishimura's desk. Nishimura, on the other hand, is super happy because having this moron sitting next to her will make her school life much better. When Takata says out loud exactly what she is feeling, Nishimura gets flustered and covers her face to hide her smile. Meanwhile, Kasahara sees Takata getting closer to Nishimura and feels a little jealous because she wants to befriend him too. Later in class, the teacher asks them to pick 2 class representatives, and Kitagawa recommends Nishimura's name to mess with her. Nishimura always gets good grades, so the teacher appoints her as the CR. However, Takata becomes the second class rep, and Kasahara gets even more jealous because it will mean Nishimura will date even closer to him. Her friend urges her to intervene, so just before the teacher announces them as class reps, Kasahara says she wants in as well. The teacher asks them to talk it out, and when Kasahara asks Nishimura to step down, she says she can't abandon Takata. Kasahara tells her how hard it is to be a class rep, and someone as stupid as her can't handle it. But Takata thinks she's talking to him and gets all sad. Kasahara explains she was talking to Nishimura, and Takata realizes that Nishimura can't do it. There is no way he can handle being a class rep. Kitagawa recommends Nishimura and Kasahara to be class reps for the fun of it, which frustrates her. She says a class rep should be a popular figure in the class, and Nishimura isn't a fit because she is a nobody. However, Takata reminds her that Kitagawa and the rest volunteered for Nishimura to be the class rep, which means she is pretty popular. Kasahara angrily says Nishimura doesn't even have any friends, and Takata loudly says he can have her all to himself in front of the whole class. Kasahara gets fed up and lets Nishimura be the class rep, but Takata now thinks he's too dumb for it, so the teacher decides to make Nishimura and Kasahara the class rep. Later, as the two of them are carrying the books, Kasahara is annoyed until Takata and Hino show up to help. After school, the trio walks back home while talking about their favorite show, unaware that their classmate Adachi is spying on them. The next day in class, Nishimura is studying when Adachi walks up to her wanting to have a word. She knows Nishimura hangs around with Hino a lot and reveals his birthday is coming up and she wants Nishimura to help pick a present for him. Nishimura doesn't know much about Hino other than his obsession with tank tops, so she suggests she asks Hino directly. Just then, Hino shows up out of nowhere, and Adachi stops Nishimura from spilling the beans. Seeing her looking like a red traffic light, Hino touches her forehead to check if she has a fever, but Adachi gets overwhelmed and runs off. He has no idea what's going on, but Nishimura finally understands that Adachi has a crush on Hino. After school, she finally confronts Adachi, who confirms her suspicion, explaining that she and Hino have been neighbors since they were kids. Back then, it was all swings and slides, but now Adachi's thinking more about ropes and rides. She feels a little jealous of Nishimura because she is always hanging out with boys, unaware that they are her only friends. Realizing how much she likes Hino, Nishimura agrees to ask him casually, which makes her really happy. As they enter the hallway, Kitagawa spots them together and starts shouting that they are plotting something sinister. Adachi tries to make them understand, but they can't understand why she would need to talk to her privately unless she's plotting the doomsday. Adachi gets super uncomfortable when Kitagawa calls her the Grim Reaper's minion, only for Takada to show up and find it super cool. He asks Nishimura to make him a minion as well, and then goes on to reveal that he's planning a surprise birthday party for Hino at his place. He invites Kitagawa and his goons, but the man says he will not come because Nishimura will make it boring. However, Takada says Nishimura is a fun person who makes his life so much more exciting, making her blush. Adachi is quick to notice that Nishimura doesn't mind Takada calling her by her nickname, which means something must be going on in her head. After the goon squad leaves, Nishimura apologizes to Adachi for their behavior and invites her to the party, claiming Hino would be happy to have a childhood friend there. Takada has no problem because any friend of Nishimura is a friend of his. Later, they all throw Hino a surprise, and Adachi sums up the courage to give him a present. It turns out to be a cap that matches his tank top. After the celebrations, Nishimura apologizes to Adachi because she was forced to befriend her so she could attend the birthday party. However, Adachi is happy to be considered Nishimura's friend and suggests they address each other by their first names. That night, Nishimura gets all excited in bed because this is the first time she's made a true girlfriend. The following day, Takada is cleaning the classroom when Kasahara shows up and asks if he and Nishimura are going out together. Takada literally does not know what going out means, but Kasahara doesn't know he is a dumb and gets upset. When she explains what it means, Takada says he hasn't done any of that stuff with Nishimura. Kasahara pokes fun at him by labeling him as a stranger to Nishimura, explaining that boys and girls only get along by hugging and kissing each other. She says the fact that's not done any of that means he's just a kid, leaving the man in dust. Later, Takada and Nishimura are sitting in a park when he asks if she sees him as a kid. Nishimura says they are both kids, so Takada asks if he can kiss her when they grow up. Nishimura doesn't understand why he's coming off so strong all of a sudden, so Takada explains all the bullshit Kasahara fed into his poo-poo brain. He assures her that they are just friends, but he cannot understand why his heart is beatboxing in his chest. The next day, Takada greets Nishimura like she's the best thing since BTS broke up, while Kasahara is in the background questioning her life choices. Later, she asks Nishimura if she is dating Takada, because they are always together, which makes her flustered. Nishimura believes she is not a good match for Takada, but Kasahara implies she's getting bored and Takada is not good enough for her. Just then, Takada and Hino show up and Kasahara makes up a lie that Nishimura thinks Takada isn't cool enough for her. Takada gets disappointed in himself, thinking he's not trying hard enough to be a good friend to the Grim Reaper, unaware that Kasahara only wants to break them apart. Nishimura convinces him he is definitely the biggest clown she's ever seen, but Takada wants to reach new heights of idiocy. He thinks he hasn't been making Nishimura happy lately, so promises to up the notch, which frustrates Kasahara. During recess, Takada asks Nishimura to play with them, but she has some class rep duties. Just then, Adachi shows up and helps her take the books to the teacher's lounge, leaving Takada feeling like a third wheel. Later, the teacher asks the students to pick their best buddies for the field trip, and Kasahara suggests picking people they usually don't talk to. The teacher likes the idea and asks the students to figure out among themselves who they want to sit with on the bus. Kasahara knows Nishimura and Takada are always sitting together, so this is her evil plan of pulling them apart. Nishimura is worried because she doesn't really have many friends in class, but Adachi walks up to her and asks her to pair up. Nishimura is happy to be seated next to her, unaware that Takada's jealousy is developing faster than his brain ever could. When she asks Takata to find someone else, he pretends to not care one bit and runs off to find a partner. Later, Nishimura sees that he is paired with Kasahara, who shows up to assign class rep roles between the two. She asks Nishimura to take care of anyone who gets sick while she tends to everything else. After she leaves, Adachi points out that Kasahara is a bitch who left all the annoying work to her, but Nishimura is fine with it. She sees Takata making plans with the boys and notices that he seems distant today for some reason. She was looking forward to this field trip because of Takata, but Kasahara stole that spot from her. At home, Nishimura's father packs her the essentials and a big lunchbox of marinated eggs. He sends her off with a smile, but is sad on the inside because he knows his daughter struggles with making friends. He recalls Nishimura being super shy when she was little, which made it hard for her to fit in. No matter how much he loves her, he cannot go to school with her, so he has packed her a big lunchbox, hoping she shares it with others and makes friends. On the bus, Takata gets carsick and Kasahara is let down because she was hoping for a good chit-chat. They stop close by to take care of him, and the teacher suggests leaving one of the class reps behind until he gets better. It was Nishimura's job to tend to the sick, but Kasahara wants to take over now. Luckily, Kitagawa shows up and tells her to let Nishimura tackle the annoying work, which leaves her frustrated. She can't say out loud what her intentions are, so her friends drag her away before she leaves a footprint on Kitagawa's. Since they are very close to the destination, the teacher leaves Nishimura with some cash and asks her to call if things get worse. After they leave, Nishimura is all alone with Takata, who falls asleep on her shoulder, leaving her all red. When he wakes up all better, he gets happy thinking Nishimura's curse nursed him back to health. When Nishimura reveals the rest went ahead without them, Takata gets sad and apologizes for taking away her chance to get closer to Adachi. He reveals he was a little jealous because he wanted to spend more time with her, making Nishimura realize he was thinking about her all this time. The distance she felt between them was actually just Takata giving her space so she could get closer to Adachi. She reveals she was looking forward to this trip because of him and proposes they take the longer route, which makes Takata jump with joy. They too visit a market where they buy loads of snacks with the money they got from the professor. Nishimura knows Takata goes out of his way to help others, so this is her repaying him back for his kindness. When they reunite with the professor, he is shocked to learn they spent all the money but lets it go, asking them not to tell the other students. Later, they meet up with the rest and Takata apologizes to Adachi for hogging Nishimura all to himself. He says he had no intention of getting in the way of their girl-on-girl romance, but Adachi latches on to Nishimura and shows Takata that they are already good friends. The squad then locates a space probe nearby, and Nishimura is super thrilled to check it out. She reveals her dad once took her to a planetarium nearby, and she has been into space stuff ever since. However, she is more into Takata than any star in the galaxy. Later, they all sit together to have food and Nishimura pulls out her lunchbox of marinated eggs. Adachi tells her it takes a lot of effort to prepare these, making her realize her father went out of her way to do this for her. The squad wants to share the lunch with her, so they give her one item from their own lunchbox in exchange for the eggs. Nishimura, realizing the meaning of friendship is so heartwarming, it is like a caveman discovering fire for the first time. She finally realizes that her father packed her a load of these eggs because it would have helped her make friends and start conversations. She takes a selfie with her friends and sends it to her father, letting him know that his marinated eggs were a hit among her friends. The man is so happy to see her daughter make friends that he starts shedding tears of joy. The class then visits the planetarium where they watch a space documentary which excites everyone. Takata sits with his friends and has a great time, leaving Kasahara jealous. Due to this field trip, Nishimura finally learns how to live and laugh, so her father no longer has to worry about her. A few days later, the class is participating in a play, and it is no surprise that Nishimura gets the role of a witch. However, Takata thinks it does not suit her, because she is too cute for it. The rest of the class disagrees, so Takata explains to them that real witches are super old and scary, brew weird potions, and eat children for lunch. This is why he thinks a cutie won't fit as a witch, which makes Nishimura blush. Kasahara thinks Takata is mesmerized by the costume, but he makes it clear that the costume is mid, and it is Nishimura who is too cute for it. Later, Nishimura visits Takata's house where Yukiko dresses her up in a yukata and takes cute pictures of her. Nishimura doesn't want a freeload on her clothes, so Yukiko asks her to visit her school festival in this dress to pay her back. She asks her to come with Takata, and Nishimura goes all red wondering how Takata will feel about her wearing a cute yukata. When Takata returns, he is disappointed because Nishimura doesn't look like the Grim Reaper at all but rather a cute normal princess. When Yukiko mentions that every princess needs a knight, Takeda decides to become a Discord mod, protecting his kitten. Later, the two visit the festival wearing yukatas and find Yukiko, who's dressed as a maid. She has to attend to the cafe, so she orders Takeda to protect Nishimura at all costs. Nishimura gets excited to spend the whole day alone with him, and wherever they go, they turn a lot of heads because they're like two brain cells colliding and calling it chemistry. As they stop to eat, Takeda notices how everyone is a grown-up here, and Nishimura reveals she feels a little sad every time she thinks about the future. Takeda realizes it's because they're having so much fun right now, making Nishimura wish this never ends. The next day, Kitagawa tries to tease Takeda by saying he saw him on a date with Nishimura, but Takeda's too busy acting like a walking, talking crush confessional. When they assert that it was a date, Takeda gets excited because he has never been on a date and he's happy his first was Nishimura. Takegawa takes another shot at him, saying he would tell the whole school about his date, but Takeda tells him not to because he doesn't like to show off. The man is so dull that Takegawa just gives up. Later, Takeda and Nishimura discuss the upcoming field day, and Takeda is super excited to participate. When he notices that Nishimura doesn't look too happy, he asks her what is up. Just then, Takegawa and his goons pass by and mock her for cursing their team last time. Turns out the team she plays in never wins, but Takeda thinks it's because the curse is too strong even for her. Takeda thinks she's cool because she is capable of changing the outcome of a whole match just by being in a team. However, now he's worried that if her team somehow ends up winning, it would mean that the curse has been lifted, leaving Nishimura with no powers. Nishimura begs her to stop being a moron and give his best, so he promises to win no matter what. He brags that his 50-meter dash is the fastest in the whole school, so Nishimura asks him to take her place. She believes she is a slow poke that will drag her team down, so Takeda asks her to climb up the dome with his help. Once they're on the top, they get a nice view of the city and Takeda realizes there are a lot of things he has not explored here. He says he wants to experience everything with Nishimura, including exploring the city and participating in sports, making her extremely happy. Just then, Hino and Adachi show up and ask them to get down because it's time to go home. However, when Nishimura trips from the top, Takeda jumps after her like a desperate simp to cushion the fall. Unfortunately, Nishimura lands on top of his arm and ends up breaking it. That night, Nishimura is in the hospital with her dad when a woman walks up to them and introduces herself as Takeda's mother. Nishimura asks about Takeda, and she happily tells her it's snapped in two like a twig, leaving her horrified. Nishimura's father apologizes for the mishap, but she says it was Takeda's fault and she's glad Nishimura is safe. Nishimura goes into tears, explaining that Takeda got hurt simping for her and she feels horrible because he was looking forward to the field day. However, his mom's just relieved he didn't inherit his dad's skill of being a walking red flag and tells Nishimura to make up to him later. She adds that his bone breaks clean, but since he's young it will recover easily, so it's going to be okay. Nishimura believes Takeda will never forgive her, but his mother explains that he actually adores her and can't shut up about how cool she is. As she drowns in her own tears, Takeda's mother thanks her for being a good friend of her son and tells her not to worry because Takeda will be happy she is safe and sound. She asks them to go home and relax because Takeda will heal in no time, and Nishimura takes it upon herself to be the class clown if he feels down. The next day, Nishimura and Adachi wait for Takeda in class, who comes in all happy like nothing happened. When they ask how he has been, he says he's got the dark dragon sealed in his arm, so it will take him a while to be okay. Nishimura reminds him that he won't be able to participate in the field day, but Takeda is a chill guy who doesn't care much because he can participate next year too. Takeda is glad she wasn't hurt, which shocks Nishimura because Takeda's mother predicted it. Later, Takeda has trouble eating with his left hand, so Nishimura feeds him, which makes Adachi think they're a married couple. During break time, Takeda wants to play football, but Nishimura reminds him that he hasn't recovered yet, which further reinforces Adachi's belief. As they walk home, Takeda thanks Nishimura for looking after him and promises to become her white knight once he recovers. Adachi is so moved by their chemistry, she dubs them the best married couple ever. The next day, Nishimura is out practicing her running before school because she doesn't want to disappoint Takeda. She knows it's her fault that he can't participate, so she wants to give her best to make up for it. At school, Kasahara and her pick-me think they are too cool for practice. The professor is sad because he was going to have Takeda run for the boys, but that isn't possible now. He looks for someone to replace Takeda and chooses Kitagawa because he looks like an inmate who escaped prison. Kitagawa is nervous and wants Hino to pitch in for him, but Hino is already participating in the giant ball rolling event. Takada, in his usual optimism, hypes Kitagawa up, which gives him the confidence he needs to stop being a The professor now has to pick a girl for the relay, and the whole Kasahara crew says they're out because they don't want to embarrass themselves. Nishimura wants to make Takada happy and wants to participate. But right before she raises her hand, she loses all confidence and freezes in one spot. Adachi notices this and asks what's wrong, but Nishimura chooses to keep it to herself. After school, Kasahara is on her way out where Nishimura spawns in the shadows and freaks her out. Kasahara asks her why she's here, and Nishimura asks her to run in the field day relay as a favor to her. She learned from Adachi that Kasahara runs faster than a redneck virgin, but Kasahara thinks it's dorky to run in 5th grade. She asks Nishimura why she's so obsessed with making her run, and Nishimura reveals it's because she can't do it herself even when she wants to. Kasahara understands she is making her run for Takada's sake, because he is the only one who doesn't treat her poorly. Kasahara thinks there might be a chance Takeda recovers and participates, which means she will be the one passing him the baton. However, Nishimura has no problem with it as long as it makes Takeda happy. Later, Kasahara's insane speed earns her the nickname The Swift, which pisses her off because the last thing she wants is to be compared to Taylor Swift. Adachi reveals she actually got this nickname a while back because she was the fastest runner in the school. The professor is confident about this relay, unaware that Kitagawa is still cowering in the background. On the field day, while the students participate in tug-of-war, Nishimura reveals Takada is at the hospital to get a clearance from the doctors. After participating in a game with Kitagawa and Adachi, Nishimura decides to have lunch with his father, who as usual brought more than she can eat. However, when Adachi asks her to share some of it with her, the man gets super happy seeing her daughter having friends. Meanwhile, Hino notices Kitagawa shoving several cups of tea and realizes this is him shitting his pants before the relay. Meanwhile, Yukiko starts recording Nishimura, claiming Takada would love to see her videos, embarrassing her in front of her dad. Yukiko says Takada might not make it till the afternoon, but he will be here for sure. Later, the professor tells Kitagawa that he is the anchor because the positions were set with Takada in mind. But since he isn't here, it is all in Kitagawa's hands. In the starting positions, Kitagawa is still waiting for Takada, but Kasahara tells him to quit whining like a bitch and focus on winning. This is a must-win for her to keep her word to Nishimura. But things go south when all that tea Kitagawa chugged starts having its effects. This leaves Kasahara in the last place, but Nishimura cheers her on along with the rest of her class, allowing her to close the distance easily. When it comes to the anchor, Takeda comes out of nowhere and takes the baton from her. Being the fastest runner in the school, Takeda races past all competitions and wins the whole thing. As his class surrounds him, Kitagawa exits the toilet and realizes he missed the whole thing. Meanwhile, Kasahara is sitting alone under a tree, relieved that she did not let her class down. Just then, Nishimura runs up to her and embraces her with tears, thanking her for running her heart out. At first, Kasahara tells her to get off thinking she'll be cursed, but quickly realizes she's too old for stupid stuff like this. Takada then comes out of nowhere and embraces them both because he cannot contain his happiness. Later, as Nishimura is looking at the pictures, Kasahara calls her by her real name and asks for her help in sorting them out. After they're finished, Takeda invites them both to walk home with him, and Nishimura states she will never forget this day in a million years. A few days later, Nishimura makes a 4-leaf clover good luck charm for Takada, so he doesn't hurt himself again. Kitagawa and his squad caution him, explaining that everything Nishimura touches becomes cursed. This makes Takada even happier because he wants to get her curse. Not only that, but a good luck charm that is cursed by the Grim Reaper is one of a kind, making it a super rare item. Later, the Pick-Me squad of the class accidentally makes eye contact with Nishimura and acts like they're cursed now. Takada is super thrilled again, thinking Nishimura has mystic eyes that lets one gaze into the boundaries of the world. Nishimura calls bullshit and explains people just make fun of her eyes because they look like a dead fish. However, Takada goes into a deep yapping session about how beautiful her eyes are, which makes her blush. The next day, Nishimura shows up wearing an eye patch, and the girls in her class believe she's doing this to get Takada's attention. Takada feels flattered that she did something for him, but Nishimura explains she had a bump on her eyelid, so she had to cover it up. When she says it's almost healed, one of the girls challenges her to take it off and Nishimura complies. When Takata sees her eyes, she starts complimenting her on how pretty she looks, which makes her flustered. Later, the girls make fun of Nishimura's white coat, which is out of character for her, and Kasahara, after her moment of bonding with Nishimura, calls them lame and walks off. She reflects on all the times she's hurt Nishimura and believes she is the lamest person in the whole class for doing so. Later, Nishimura compliments Kasahara by calling her super cool, which catches her off guard. She asks what's so cool about her, and Nishimura says she likes the way she dresses. Kasahara goes into deep self-analysis, recalling how she used to make fun of Nishimura's clothes. Afterward, Nishimura runs into Kitawaga telling his friends about a dream in which he saw the Grim Reaper. As they start laughing at Nishimura, Takata comes running in and says he had a dream about her, thanking her for hanging out with him even in his sleep. Nishimura reminds him that it is his own conscience, but Takata thinks he's slowly developing the curse, which is why Nishimura can invade his dreams now. Nishimura explains how people find it very creepy when they see her in their dreams, but Takata, on the other hand, is super happy about it. Hino shows up and says he saw both of them in his dream, and Takata is thrilled because he and Nishimura were together even in other people's dreams. Later, Nishimura visits Takata to return the manga she borrowed, but Yukiko invites her in for tea. She asks Nishimura if hanging out with her loser brother ever got her bullied, but Nishimura says it's fine because Takata is a clown who takes all the heat. When Takata returns home, Yukiko bluntly tells Nishimura that her future husband is here, which makes her nervous. When Takata enters the room, he notices Nishimura is all red and Yukiko is apologizing for teasing her. The next day at school, Adachi learns Nishimura has a cat and asks if she can come over to meet her. Takata gets jealous because he has never been to Nishimura's house, so Nishimura invites both him and Hino over as well. That night, Nishimura cleans her room so no one realizes her life's just as trashed as her floor. When her father returns home, she decides not to tell her about her friends coming over, but the man is able to guess just by her reaction. After cleaning, Nishimura pulls out all her cute outfits to see which makes her look less hideous. She then runs up to her dad, who compliments her outfit, but they have a bigger issue at hand. Her friends are coming tomorrow, and they need to grab snacks, so they rush over to the nearest store. After spending a lifetime picking cake, Nishimura returns home and looks forward to eating it with her friends. The next day, Takata wakes up all happy because he is going to visit Nishimura, but his mother reveals they will have to take a rain check because she is under the weather. Meanwhile, Nishimura is in bed and apologizes to her father, more making him do so much for her. The man tells her it's okay to rely on parents and asks her to rest well. Nishimura can't help but feel disappointed in herself for letting her friends down. When Kuro enters the room, Nishimura thinks she let her down too because everyone was coming over to play with her. She feels embarrassed because she got so worked up over something so small and regrets buying the cake because it will go to waste now. Just then, she notices Takata, who grabs her hand and tells her he'll help her finish the cake. She sees that all of her friends decided to come anyway, so they can take care of her and have lots of fun. Nishimura thinks she is dreaming and is super happy to have friends over for the first time. After some time, they decide to leave so Nishimura can rest, but not before Hiro gives her a free coupon from his parents' ramen shop. Just as they turn around to leave, Nishimura gets up and grabs Takata's arm, begging him to stay for a little longer because she feels lonely without him. Later, when she wakes up, she realizes that her fever is gone. She recalls having a weird dream about her friends coming over, but when she notices the free coupon next to her pillow, she gets extremely embarrassed. Later, she meets Takata on her way to school and asks if he really came to visit her. Takata reveals he came with Hino and Adachi, and they all had the delicious chocolate cake she bought. She asks if she said anything weird to him, and Takata gets flustered because he remembers Nishimura begging him to stay. They both decide to pretend it didn't happen because it is too embarrassing and continue walking to school. Later, Kasahara tries to lure a cat out so she can pet it, but turns out to be an empty shopping bag, which disappoints her. Just then, Nishimura shows up behind her, making her feel super embarrassed. The two sit together outside a shrine where Kasahara is on the edge, thinking Nishimura will make fun of her. However, Nishimura thinks it is adorable how much she loves cats and even mimics one to tease her a little bit. Kasahara knows Nishimura has a cat and asks if she can come over to see it. When Nishimura allows her, she runs off all happy and promises to see her tomorrow. The next day, Kasahara spots Nishimura in the locker room with a leaf stuck in her hair. Just then, Takeda comes running in and praises her for watering the plants, which makes Kasahara annoyed. Eventually, she just walks up to her and pulls it out of her hair, which makes Takata jealous because he thinks she and Nishimura are close friends now. Kasahara gets flustered and says this is just normal, but in Takata's book, this means they can get even closer. He finds it really cool how the Swift and the Grim Reaper are hanging out and dubs them the Swift Reaper Alliance. Kasahara gets annoyed and states they are just friends, but Nishimura had no idea she had made another friend. While waiting at the zoo, Takata sees Nishimura looking like a total cutie and wonders if she's part of the attractions. After he showers her with compliments, they wait for the third wheel, aka Hino, to show up. Takata is always the one complimenting Nishimura, so she decides she will make him happy by giving him one in return. She tells Takata he looks cool, but when he asks how, she freezes like it's a pop quiz she didn't study for. She replies that everything about him is cool, but Takata says she is way cooler with his Grim Reaper powers, which is why he can't stop thinking about her. This makes Nishimura blush so hard she looks like a walking traffic light, and she realizes complimenting people is really hard. Just then, Hino shows up and complains about his body being alien to anything but tank tops. He then notices that Takata has a big smile on his face, most likely because he received a compliment. The next day, Kitagawa makes fun of Nishimura, saying he saw her in a live documentary about ghosts. Takata says it can't be her because she was with him all day long, making them think they were on a date. They learn Hino was with them too, so they are safe for now. However, when Hino says he left early because he had plans with Adachi, Kitagawa realizes they were both on a date. Later, Nishimura is out shopping when Takata shows up out of nowhere and asks what song she's singing. Nishimura feels embarrassed and refuses to tell him, which makes him think it is a cursed song. He thinks it is adorable and urges her to sing so he can have the curse too. He even offers to hold her bags, but Nishimura says that won't get him what he wants. However, when she sees how disappointed Takata looks compared to literally 5 seconds ago, she decides to sing, which makes him super happy. The next day, the squad walks up to Takata and tells him that he's being super naughty for getting so close to Takata. They dub his behavior as illicit fraternization, which makes Takata terrified because his stupid ass can't even spell the word. They explain how children who talk to opposite genders are labeled as troublemakers, but Takata thinks they are troublemakers too because they talk to them all the time. He apologizes to them for making them troublemakers, making them realize he is too dumb to be teased. Later, Nishimura assures him that talking to girls doesn't make him a troublemaker. Takata is relieved, claiming he would die if he couldn't talk to her anymore. At home, Yukuko and her friend Kasumi are talking about a guy Kasumi likes who is apparently a bookworm. Just then, Takata walks in to say hi, and Yukiko immediately tells him about Kasumi going on a Christmas date with a guy. Takata asks Yukiko what she is up to, and she reveals she's going to cram school because no one wants to clap her cheeks. She asks him if he has any plans, and Takata reveals he is going shopping with Nishimura. On Christmas Eve, Nishimura and Takata meet up at a mall to buy some stuff for the Christmas party. Takata is super excited because he thinks preparing for the party is even cooler than the party itself. Nishimura says she's never spent Christmas with friends, and Takata tells her to try doing things she wouldn't normally do, like being funny for once. He tells her about sparkling cider, cakes, fried chicken, and exchanging gifts, and Nishimura realizes he's really enjoying himself. Just then, Nishimura gets a call from Hino to let him know that he's helping Yukiko decorate the house. They'd also learn that Kasahara will be coming over, and Nishimura is glad she invited her. Later, the two look for a pastry shop when an adult couple passes by and assumes they're a young Christmas couple, making Nishimura blush. However, Nishimura is relieved Takata is too stupid to understand and brushes it off. He then sees Kasumi and her guy sitting together in a park and says they are cute and lovey-dovey, just like him and Nishimura. He decides to say hi to them, but before he can, Kasumi and her guy share a kiss. So Takata gets nervous and hides behind the bushes. He recalls asking Nishimura if he could kiss her once they are older and turns all red. Later, the two walk back home hand in hand, but Nishimura feels that something is different about Takata. When they return home, they are both blushing red and trying to avoid eye contact, making the rest wonder if something happened between them. Later, as the rest of them enjoy the party, Nishimura and Takata ignore each other to the best of their ability. Kasahara notices this and tells Adachi, who believes something must have happened while they were shopping. As they wonder how to fix the mood, Hino gets a brilliant idea from the last brain cell on life support and suggests they exchange gifts. Takata gets the first number and gets to pick whatever he wants, so he picks a smaller one because smaller ones have a better chance of being a rare item in video games. It turns out to be a lip balm from Kasahara, who says it's important for boys to take care of their lips. Seeing her lips reminds him of what he saw in the park, so gets nervous once again. Meanwhile, Adachi gets mustache stickers from Takata and Hino, gets Rizzler Boy shades from Adachi which somehow make him look even stupider than before. Kasahara gets a muffler from Nishimura and thanks her because she genuinely likes it. Nishimura thanks her back for everything she did during field day, making her blush hard. She starts chugging on juice out of sheer embarrassment, explaining how it was rather annoying how everyone called her the Swift and how people started a stupid fan club after her. Realizing she's acting like a sorry fool, she decides to turn the tables by pointing out how Takata has been acting weird, which means something happened between him and Nishimura. Just then, Takata heads to the balcony all by himself, so Nishimura decides to check up on him. She asks Takata why he's been acting differently, and the guy reveals it's because he likes her. He isn't sure how it's different from how he likes Hino and the others, but he is smart enough to know it is not the same. He asks Nishimura if he can kiss her, which makes her heart run a marathon. After a moment of silence, she gently pushes him away and explains that he should not rush it and kiss her only when he is sure about it. However, when Takata says this isn't a whim and he really wants to kiss her, Kasahara shows up high on sparkling cider and asks them to come in already. After Adachi takes her away, Takeda tells Nishimura they will continue this conversation later and heads back inside, leaving Nishimura extremely nervous. Later, Adachi mentions that Nishimura hasn't opened her presents, so everyone gets excited for it. It turns out to be a red tank top from Hino, and when Adachi says she would have loved to get a present from him, Kasahara gets suspicious and asks Nishimura if Adachi has a crush on Hino. When Nishimura confirms her suspicion, Kasahara realizes she is the biggest third wheel in the history of third wheels. On New Year's Eve, Takata texts Nishimura to let her know that he's coming to pick her up with his family. But Nishimura gets nervous remembering their conversation on the balcony. She doesn't know how to face this moron, but Takata doesn't even realize it due to his outgoing nature. As they visit the shrine, which is crowded, Takata's mother feels really cold, so she leaves to get some warm drinks for everyone, leaving Yukiko in charge of the kids. Nishimura notices that Takata is very cheerful today, and the guy credits her for it, claiming she made his life more fun. However, Nishimura feels like he's the one who made her life better. She recalls all the things they experienced together, like walking to school together, visiting her mother's grave, sharing lunch and everything. She thanks Takata for everything he's done for her, which makes him really happy. Later, as they reach the shrine, Takata says their wishes are supposed to be a secret, but he has a feeling he and Nishimura will wish for the same thing. Just then, Takata's mother returns with warm drinks and sees that Yukiko's nose is bleeding from seeing his brother and Nishimura being cute and all. Soon after, Hino and Adachi arrive as well, and they make their wish in front of the shrine. Later, Takeda reveals he got a phone of his own so he and Nishimura can exchange contact info now. Nishimura realizes that Takata does not understand the concept of taking things slow, but this is exactly why they get along so well, so she does not have a problem with it. Later in school, the teacher changes the seats and the students start a rumor that people who end up together twice are bound to fall in love. Adachi cannot see the board from her seat, so she asks for the professor's permission to exchange her seat with the next person, who happens to be Nishimura. This allows her to be seated next to Takata once again, making her wonder if he believes in the rumor or not. Later, Kitagawa notices something off about Takata, who reveals he cannot get Nishimura off his mind as of late. He starts yapping about how much fun he has with Nishimura, and Adachi starts to think it is because he is in love with her. When he says his chest tightens up whenever he is with Nishimura, Kitagawa scares him off by saying it's a curse, but that makes Takata even more excited. Adachi is 100% sure he's in love, but can't help but feel frustrated at how stupid the boys are. Later, Nishimura tells her the same thing, and Adachi is relieved it is not one-sided like her own miserable love story. The next day, Takeda runs into the Scorpion Gang's super cool base, which they have claimed without even asking the teachers. Takeda is super thrilled by it, especially when Kitagawa invites him in. As he makes himself at home, the gang bows down to him and begs him to save their squad. They reveal they have been at war with the Lizard Gang, and their activities involve fighting for dodgeball, umbrella duels on rainy days, and a step-skipping contest. However, they always end up losing and have come up with a cockroach bomb to finally defeat them. They have placed cockroaches in a box that opens on a timer, but they accidentally planted it in the wrong classroom. They want Takata's help in this matter because the locker they place it in actually belongs to Nishimura. Kitagawa makes it clear that he does not care about her, but his moral code is to never involve civilians in war, which is why they must help her without letting her know. 10 minutes before the detonation, Takeda walks into the classroom and straight up asks Nishimura if she has seen a bomb. He quickly realizes she isn't supposed to know and brushes it off, but Hino overhears it, which causes the whole class to panic. The students decide to call the teachers and the police, but Takeda tells them he can defuse the bomb on his own. However, the classmates aren't gonna let their lives fall into his clumsy hands and start panicking. That's when Nishimura reveals she found a weird box in her locker earlier and that she gave it to the professor. Only 1 minute remains until the explosion, and Takeda runs to the teacher's lawn to make sure he doesn't die from the explosion. The Scorpion gang follows and runs into the professor, who is holding the device. However, he is more focused on making sure no one runs in the halls, which causes the timer to run out. Just then, a horde of cockroaches comes out of the box and the screams are heard throughout the school. After school, everyone walks home in despair, but Takeda is happy because Nishimura wasn't hurt. He reveals the old Scorpion gang was disbarred, but he is invited to the new one as well. Nishimura asks if he wants to join it, but Takeda says he won't go anywhere if she isn't invited. He believes Grin Reapers are way cooler than Scorpions and decides to make their own gang where they can invite Hino and their friends. The next day, the professor asks the students to use their imagination and draw themselves 10 years from now. Adachi draws herself as a zookeeper, Kasahara draws herself as a rich Twitch thought, and Adachi draws tank tops. Nishimura can't think of anything, and Takeda draws himself as a knight protecting his goth queen. Takeda apologizes because he could not draw her as cute as she is in real life, which makes her blush again. The next day, Takeda smells something nice on Nishimura, which turns out to be her new shampoo. Takeda asks her to keep using this one, but Nishimura is worried her classmates will think she's trying to lure in boys by smelling nice. However, Takeda says she can bag the hottest guy even without smelling nice because she has a special charm about her. On a weekend, Takeda is bored at home but gets all excited when he gets a text from Nishimura. Nishimura, on the other hand, thinks she is being a bother by sending annoying messages to him. The girls in her class spread a rumor that anyone who gets a message from Nishimura will get cursed if they don't forward it to 20 people, so she thinks Takeda fell for that rumor. Just as she suspected, Takeda actually believes it but is super excited because he wants to be cursed. However, he replies to her that he's so happy he could die, which makes her flustered. He believes he has to forward the message to 20 people now, but Yukiko suggests he tell his classmates in person. So the next day, he goes around telling everyone that he received a super special message from Nishimura on the weekend. Later, Kasahara asks Nishimura for her number because Takeda has spread a rumor that getting a message from her spreads happiness, which is something she desperately needs in her miserable life. The next day, Takeda runs into Nishimura and her dad and decides to walk with them. He asks her about her horoscope, but when his dad answers instead, he realizes he's been using Nishimura's second name all this time, which leads to confusion. He decides to call her Akane from now on, so she decides to call him by his first name, Taiyo. Even though it's weird for Nishimura to suddenly shift to a first-name basis, she decides to open herself up a little because it makes Takeda happy. That's it for this video. Leave a like and comment which anime you want us to cover next. If you want more recaps like this, watch this video here.